Porter's Five Forces model was developed when Michael Porter discovered that profitability varied immensely between different markets, and he wanted to investigate why. Therefore, he compared the airline industry, which makes relatively low profits in comparison to the soft drinks industry, and he concluded that industries with high profits often have high barriers to entry, limited choice for customers, little opportunities for substitutes, weaker suppliers who have weaker bargaining power, and minimal rivalry within the market. This eventually led to the 5 formal forces being published, which Porter determined were the 5 factors which influence profitability within any market. The 5 forces are threat of entry, buyer bargaining power, threat of substitutes, supplier bargaining power, and rivalry. If a business applies Porter's 5 forces to the existing market they operate within, it can help them to effectively position themselves in the market, define their value proposition, and develop their future strategy to maximise their overall success and profitability within the market. Alternatively, if a business is considering entering a new market, the application of Porter's 5 forces can help them to determine the market's potential and whether entering the market will be a good decision. Let's have a look at these 5 forces in more detail, with supporting examples from the UK supermarket industry. The threat of entry refers to how easy it is for new businesses to enter the market in focus. If a market is easy to enter, then this would mean the threat of entry is high, which is bad news for businesses that already exist in the market. Examples of businesses which operate in markets with a high threat of entry include hairdressers, takeaways and bakeries, where competitors can pop up out of nowhere, start a new business and compete with relative ease in comparison to markets such as the pharmaceutical industry, which has a low threat of entry due to its complex nature and the high costs that are involved. If it's easier for a new business to enter the market, this presents a threat to the market share of existing businesses in the market. This is because new businesses may attract their customers, which in turn can create price wars, reduce competitive advantage, and decrease overall profitability. Whereas if a market is hard to enter, this is good news for the existing businesses, as it is less likely that a new business will enter the market, and if they do, their instant impact is likely to be less severe, meaning existing businesses are more likely to keep their competitive advantage and core customer base. Markets which are harder to enter often have multiple barriers to entry, which include economies of scale. Bigger businesses often benefit from economies of scale, meaning they have significant bargaining power over suppliers and can keep unit costs low. This in turn creates a barrier to entry for smaller businesses, as they can be priced out of the market before they even enter it. Brand loyalty is also an important factor. If customers are very loyal to a certain brand within a market, it can make it very difficult for new businesses to enter the market and attract those customers. Also, if a market has several large businesses which have existed for many years, they are often very dominant, with expertise and have strong reputations, making it very difficult for new businesses who haven't built their reputation yet to enter the market, especially if the market is for high-end luxury goods, where trust and confidence in the business is very influential in purchasing decisions. The UK supermarket industry is a very difficult market to enter due to barriers such as the market being dominated by a few very large businesses who have expertise and excellent reputations, who also benefit from economies of scale, and businesses wanting to enter require large amounts of capital to compete. Although new competitors do enter from time to time, the core of the businesses which exist and thrive in the UK supermarket industry have remained the same for decades. However, it is possible for new businesses to enter the UK supermarket industry, and this has happened in recent decades. For example, Aldi started as a small town German discount supermarket with just one UK store in 1990, but fast forward a few decades, they now have over 900 UK based stores in 2021, and are considered a fierce competitor in this market, influencing many changes in the industry. Aldi's market share has also grown to nearly 10%, and they have caused price wars with the UK's biggest players, such as Tesco, who now offer Aldi price matches to their customers, effectively lowering their prices so they don't lose custom to Aldi. Although Aldi has shown it's possible to enter a market which has many barriers to entry, including long-standing businesses such as Tesco, Sainsbury's and Asda benefiting from economies of scale, brand loyalty and reputation. It's important to acknowledge that Aldi already had expertise in the supermarket industry and an effective business model which had already worked in Germany. Therefore, they were able to adapt to the UK market and build their UK business slowly over time. Buyer bargaining power refers to the customers in the market who are looking to buy goods from businesses and how powerful they are. This force links to supply and demand, as it can be dependent on the number of businesses in the market selling the same or similar products, in comparison to how many customers there is wanting to buy the said products. If there is a limited number of buyers, i.e. not many customers in the market, but lots of sellers offering the products that they are looking to buy, then supply outweighs demand. Customers are then likely to have lots of choice, and competition is likely to be intense in the market. This is not good news for businesses who operate within this market, as it's likely that overall profitability will decrease if buyers have strong bargaining power. This is because businesses will have to reduce their selling price to compete in price wars. They may also have to increase the quality of their products and services to gain a competitive edge, which then increases the unit cost. Alternatively, they may have to invest heavily in marketing to attract customers. In the UK supermarket industry, buyer bargaining power is strong, as customers tend to have a lot of choice as there is fierce competition in this market, which means customers can drive a hard bargain and can easily switch to a competitor if they have a bad experience, causing continuous price wars in the supermarket industry, with the likes of Tesco, Asda and Sainsbury's all competing fiercely on price and investing heavily into marketing, which has been further fueled by the rise of discount supermarket chains such as Aldi and Lidl. This means that profit margins have been slashed across the market, and strong buyer bargaining power has also led to businesses such as Tesco, Asda and Sainsbury's developing strategies to attract customers away from their competitors and to give them a competitive advantage over the discount supermarket businesses such as Aldi and Lidl. These strategies include focusing on the quality of their products, introducing a series of own brand label lines, differentiating the product range to offer customers much more than groceries to increase convenience and attract a wider audience, alongside running a membership scheme where customers can collect points and rewards when they shop with the aim of boosting brand loyalty. The threat of substitutes focuses on the options customers have and how easy it is for them to switch between alternatives. The greater the threat of substitutes, the greater the threat to the business, and the less profitable it is likely to be. Therefore, it's essential that businesses which operate in markets with a high threat of substitutes meet the customers' wants and needs effectively to ensure they don't lose their custom. In the UK supermarket industry, the threat of substitutes has increased dramatically in the past decade, and the traditional supermarket model is under great threat as customers have so many buying options, which is mainly due to technological advancements. For example, Amazon have recently entered the grocery market and offer a huge threat to the traditional way of shopping for groceries. Firstly, they provide their Prime members with a unique shopping experience online, with same-day delivery of groceries delivered free of charge. Alternatively, customers who visit their Amazon Go stores can literally walk into the grocery store, pick up their goods and walk out without queuing to pay, as it's all done automatically through their app. Another threat of substitution which faces the supermarket industry comes in the form of food subscription services. With the market expected to exceed 1.5 billion by 2022, and the lockdown restrictions which were in place due to coronavirus have created a boom in sales and a change in buying behaviours where customers are seeking the convenience of pre-made meal plans, all packaged up and delivered to their homes. Convenience stores also offer a threat of substitution to the UK supermarket industry, as changes in consumer lifestyles and buyer behaviours mean customers may opt to go to their local convenience store rather than travel to a supermarket. However, many supermarket businesses including Sainsbury's and Tesco have adapted their strategy and started investing in convenience stores to reduce this threat of substitution to their business, building new convenience stores in locations where there is a gap in the market and buying existing convenience stores from competitors, adding them to their portfolio, such as Tesco Expresses and Sainsbury's Locals. Supplier bargaining power relates to the influence of suppliers on the profitability of the businesses in the market. If businesses have a wide choice of suppliers in the market that they operate within, supplier bargaining power would be weak, meaning businesses can dictate negotiations and drive costs down, which is good for profitability. However, The fewer the suppliers in the market, the more powerful they are, especially if the resources they supply are relatively scarce. If there are only a few suppliers in the market, then they have what Porter referred to as strong bargaining power, meaning they have more influence and can increase their prices, which effectively increases the cost for businesses in the market, which in turn reduces their competitive advantage and profit margins. If supplier bargaining power is strong, businesses can employ several strategies to minimise the impact it has on their overall profitability, such as agreeing to longer contracts which secures better terms, or utilising economies of scale and purchasing larger quantities to drive down costs. In the UK supermarket industry, supplier bargaining power is generally weak. This is because the market is dominated by a small number of large businesses who have very strong buyer bargaining power due to the sheer volume of supplies they purchase to stock in their stores across the UK. This has resulted in UK supermarket businesses effectively driving down the cost of purchasing raw materials and products from their suppliers to protect their own profit margins. However, this has been met with a wave of negative publicity for some of the UK's major supermarket chains due to them being perceived as taking advantage of this power. For example, in 2016, the Supermarket Ombudsman found that Tesco knowingly delayed paying money to suppliers in order to improve its own financial position. And in 2018, UK supermarkets were accused by Oxfam of leaving farmers and food producers around the world in poverty as they increasingly squeeze the price they pay their suppliers. Essentially, suppliers of UK supermarket businesses often have very weak bargaining power, which has been taken advantage of by businesses that operate in this market to what could be viewed as both an unethical and unsustainable level. Over time, this can lead to suppliers taking action against the supermarkets, such as a protest which was led by dairy farmers in 2015, where police were called because dairy farmers were protesting by taking cows into supermarkets and walking them around because they believed supermarkets were selling milk too cheaply for them to be able to ever make a profit. Rivalry is the final force that we are going to explore. It examines how intense the current competition is within the market which the business operates within or wishes to enter. Porter concluded that rivalry is dependent on several factors and is most intense when there are many competitors in the market, most of the businesses in the market are of similar size and power, there's slow industry growth or the market is in decline, there's not much differentiation between the competitors in the market, which leads to most businesses offering similar products and services, and when barriers to exit the market are high, which leads to businesses staying in the market longer. Put simply, as a business faces more competition, it's likely that their selling prices will decrease, and their investment in marketing will increase to support the business to compete, which will typically lead to a decrease in overall profitability. As we've already discussed, there is intense competitive rivalry in the UK supermarket industry, which has increased buyer bargaining power and placed additional pressure on suppliers as supermarket businesses look to compete on low prices but retain as much of their profit margins as possible. Also, customers can easily find alternative options and shop with a competitor, as lots of competition exists in the market, with many businesses being of similar size and power, offering little differentiation between the core products and services that they offer. Although some supermarket businesses have extended the range of products and services that they offer to try and gain a competitive advantage, such as having dedicated departments for clothing and electronical products, whilst providing services such as an on-site cafe, or even offering their own insurance and mobile phone services. An additional strategy that some UK supermarkets have employed to gain a competitive advantage is developing partnerships with other businesses such as Greggs and Timpson by offering space in store for them to sell their goods and services to the supermarket's customers, with the aim of providing them with convenience and an improved shopping experience. It could be argued that competitive rivalry has intensified over the years in the UK supermarket industry, as customers have even more choice. Not only do they typically have multiple supermarket stores within travelling distance, but they also have the option to shop online, meaning they have more alternatives and even more businesses are competing for their custom. So that's it. Porter's 5 Forces, a very useful framework developed by Michael Porter which aids businesses to analyse the market they operate within or wish to enter and can be used to guide business strategy by considering a variety of factors which include the threat of new entrants into the market, the bargaining power of its customers and suppliers, the threat of substitutes, and the intensity of competitive rivalries within the market. I hope that's helped, and if you want to learn more about business, don't forget to subscribe to Two Teachers on YouTube to see our weekly video uploads on key business topics. Thank you for listening, and all the best.